Hi, this is a short informational video to the members of the King's Family Church, Hucknall. My name's Ashley. As members, you probably know that, senior leader of the King's Family Church, Hucknall. And as the chair of the managing trustees, I have a responsibility to update you on what the position is relating to our AGM this year. As you may know, we've decided to postpone our AGM under paragraph 8.1 of our model deed until it is legal, safe and practical for us to be able to hold an in-person AGM. But I do want to reaffirm our commitment to holding an in-person AGM as soon as it's legal, safe and reasonably practical to do so. I hope you've seen the attachment that went out with the email instructing you with the link to watch this video, because attached to that email was a copy of our financial position, and that document goes off to the independent examiner, and in turn that's submitted to the Charity Commission, and we have until the 31st of October 2021 as our legal responsibility to do that. You will see that as I share some of our financial information, that on screen will come some extracts to support what I'm wanting to share with you. This video is going to be split into three parts, which would normally make up an AGM. The first being the financial position of the church. The second part will be sharing the church activities of 2020. And thirdly, I just want to update you with appointments and resignations to the board of managing trustees. So that's the order in which we will do things. So let's begin. Let's first take a look at the church's financial position. As we start, I want to start by saying thank you for your generous giving. Thank you for your generous giving. The way that you've continually supported financially the work of the church in 2020 during a prolonged period of government restrictions has been nothing short of remarkable. Remarkable. There's a real possibility that our finances could have been significantly affected in an adverse way, much more than it has in all reality. In a world of financial uncertainty, we really have, as a church, responded to the need to continue to support the church financially over the last year. Here are some facts and figures, the top line figures. This is our current financial position. We'll start with the top line information. On the 1st of January 2020, the church had a total bank balance of £17,823. And as at the 31st of December 2020, this had decreased to 15,627, meaning a net loss of £2,196 for the year 2020. That said, the church's financial position has stood up well to the challenges of a pandemic year. We're hearing more and more stories of churches locally that are feeling and facing real financial hardship and experiencing significant financial losses and pressure. But let's dig deeper into the top line figures. Here's the detail. Let's begin with taking a look at COVID-19, the direct impact of COVID-19. You see, in addition to our normal expenses, we've incurred some additional expenses, an extra £1,984 directly as a result of COVID-19. This includes having to purchase 5 clear screens, the ones behind me on the screen there. We've had to install hand sanitizer dispensers, and we've had to invest in signage and some personal protective equipment in terms of gloves, antibacterial sprays and wipes and masks and aprons, etc. So much of our operating loss can be put down to these direct costs of £1,984 directly incurred as a result of safety precautions under COVID-19. In terms of worship, in order to provide Sunday church online, the church had to invest in some more technology, which includes purchasing some recording equipment and some editing software. And in addition, the church has had to replace the laptop that had developed a screen fault. The 8-year-old laptop was not really capable of running the demands of a live Sunday service. You see, the laptop has to simultaneously run sometimes playing a music or a video while recording sound and recording the service, and also projecting media and words onto screens in multiple locations all at the same time. And that's let alone having the capacity to produce all that's involved with editing and uploading and producing DVDs for Sunday Church Online. Let's take a look at income. Giving, on the face of it, general offering, it appears to have gone down from 45,642 in 2019 to 31,997 in 2020. So on the face of it, it looks like it's gone down around £13,500 to £14,000. However, if you remember back in 2019, the church received a very generous anonymous donation of £13,000 to clear the outstanding mortgage at that time. So if you were to take off that one-off very generous gift in 2019, then the actual income relating to 2019 and 2020 is almost identical, certainly very similar. That's for general offerings. Clearly, income from donations, coffee house, fair trade, room hire and fundraising has all been affected. For example, a summer fair and a Christmas fair, they would normally raise in approximately £600 to £700 each at both events in normal circumstances. But on a more encouraging note, the number of people that are regularly bringing their tithes and offerings to the church by using the bank transfer method, it's increased from approximately 10 people in January 2019 to 18 people at the end of December 2020, which is an increase of 80% of people shifting to bringing a tithe or an offering by using the method of bank transfer. And we just can't thank everyone enough who's responded to the challenge of lockdown and is supporting the church financially through that method. Of course, we also like to thank those that very generously continue to support the church financially using other methods and financially supporting us by various methods of giving during lockdown. Thank you. Thank you on behalf of the church. Gift aids continue to be an incredible source of income for the church, where in 2020 we claimed £8,791 back from HMRC. What an incredible figure coming into the church through the gift aid scheme. The church has also received some one-off donations to support the work of the church, and we would just like to place on record our appreciation for all those who have donated a one-off donation. Let's take a look at costs. If we start with looking at employee costs, current staff include a full-time senior leader, a coffee house coordinator working 9 hours a week, and a housekeeper working 2.5 hours a week. The coffee house coordinator has been on furlough since the very first lockdown and is still on furlough. And the housekeeper, who is currently on furlough, has been on furlough during the periods that we were not able to open for worship. However, under the job retention scheme, the government have provided us, we've been able to claim £2,578 back from HMRC under what's called the job retention scheme for staff that have been on furlough. Let's take a look at other expenditure. Here's some other financial information relating to the church's expenditure. And I will try and follow the order on the sheet if you're following that sheet alongside the presentation. I will obviously not be going over again the areas of significance that I've already described. So let's first take a look at discipleship. There was an increase in the amount spent on discipleship materials. In our addition to our commitment to providing the congregation and our connections with UCB daily reading devotionals, the church has copies of books by David Petts available to support your personal spiritual growth. 2 books, one called You Better Believe It and the other called How to Live for Jesus. It's really for those who have recently become Christians and want to learn more. Please speak to me if you feel you would benefit from either of those books that we do have available. In terms of outreach, despite COVID-19 affecting everyday operations, we still increased what the church did invest in our outreach and in our ministry. Outreach in 2020 was predominantly spent on launching our Shine counselling and wellbeing service. You may remember that planning and preparation began back in September 19, ready for a January 2020 launch. And Shine Counselling and Wellbeing was serving our community between January and March when we went into national lockdown. And that's where a majority of our outreach has been invested in 2020. In terms of administration, by far our biggest administrative cost relates to the outgoings of our weekday ministries, things such as the living room, church mice, the toddler group, and Connect Coffee House. Although it does include the cost of all equipment and materials used in church ministry, for example, Sunday school. There was a significant reduction in administrative costs, which is only to be expected from not being able to operate our midweek ministries. In terms of property, some of our property inspections that would normally have taken place at the end of the year, these were deferred until the beginning of 2021 because the building was just not in regular use. For example, the fire alarm testing, the fire extinguisher testing, and portable appliances electrical testing. They were all due at the end of the year 2020, and these were deferred to the beginning of 2021, predominantly because of a significantly decrease in the use of the church building. However, they are booked in for 11th of March 2021, so they won't hold us back in terms of reopening the church for worship when it's legal and safe and practical to do so. We also painted the perimeter fence, which an incredible job that's been done by some of our volunteers, and I'd like to place on record our thanks for painting the whole of the perimeter fence during lockdown. Utilities. As you would expect, you spend less on utilities when the building's not being used as much. And although a total of 4,619 has been spent on utilities, this has accounted in a reduction of £269 in charges over the previous year, partly due to less consumption. However, we have also recouped some of that back because another £244.26 has been refunded by E.ON for less use. You're probably aware of how the estimated usage and monthly charge system works. So we were able to claim back £244.26 from E.ON in unused gas and electric. Monthly charges have also been reduced for this coming year to reflect an estimated less usage, particularly at the start of the year, which has significantly increased because it's our winter months. In terms of professional fees, for the first time the amount spent on professional fees has been categorised separately. This includes things like safeguarding subscriptions, DBS checks, the independent examination of our accounts, and data protection registration. So this simply provides a more detailed explanation of the church's expenditure in areas such as those. So that's a newly area extracted to show you the breakdown on professional fees. I really hope that you found this information useful. It clearly outlines the financial position of the church, and the managing trustees welcome questions. And we would normally take questions relating to our financial position at the AGM. If you've got any questions relating to our financial position, or in fact to any of tonight's information sharing session that's being published, you can do this in one of two ways. You can either wait until the in-person AGM and you can ask your question in person and in public, or you might wish to ask a question prior to the AGM, and we will attempt to respond to your questions if you choose to approach us prior to the AGM. The managing trustees would like you to know that you don't have to wait until the AGM to ask questions. So thank you. Let's move on to part 2 of our information sharing session, the area in which we now take a look at the activities that the church has been involved in 2020. And I really hope this brings you a blessing and some encouragement and some hope for the future. But just before we do, let me just say one more time that we greatly appreciate your continued financial support to the work of the King's Family Church and to Future Vision. And we just wanted to say thank you.
Trust the sweetest friend, but wholly trust in Jesus' name. Come on, every voice. My hope is built on nothing less than Jesus' blood and righteousness. I dare not trust the sweetest friend, but wholly trust in Jesus' name. Christ alone, cornerstone, weak and made strong in the Savior's love. Through the storm, He is the Lord, Lord I'm born. When darkness seems to hide His face, I rest on His unchanging grace. In every dressed in his righteousness alone, faultless stand before the throne. Oh Lord,
I love you, Lord. Oh, your mercy never fails me. All my days I've been held in your hands. From the moment that I wake up until I lay my head. Oh, I will. You have been so, so good. With every breath that I am able, oh, I will sing of the goodness of God. I love your voice. You will lead me through the fire, and in darkest night, you were close like no other. I've known you as a father, I've known you as a friend, and I have lived in the good
so we will certainly pray for her.
So at the time of recording, the sun is shining on us today. You probably can't see it. And I trust and I hope that's a sign of the blessing that is to come, and that the Lord will shine on the King's Family Church in the days ahead. So let's turn our attention to the final part of our information sharing session today. And that is on the issue of appointments, resignations, and some other managing trustee related legal stuff. So let's move straight into that. Just to remind you that Rachel Tennyson was appointed to the role of a managing trustee officially on the 15th of January 2020, but clearly some work went into that prior. But officially on the 15th of January 2020, Rachel Tennyson was appointed as a managing trustee, and she has done an incredible job. We are so blessed to have Rachel on board. In terms of resignations, John Hill resigned from his position of managing trustee on the 18th of September 2020. There were personal reasons for John resigning, and I'm sure that in the next few weeks more will become clear. Certain roles have changed within the governance team. The marriage registrar will be Rachel Tennyson, and the deputy will be Karen Parkin. Rachel will also take on the role of safeguarding officer with Karen Parkin as deputy. And Rachel also picked up the portfolio for health and safety. She took on that role when she came on board in January 2020, not realising the wave that was about to hit us in the form of a pandemic just 2 months later. Thank you, Rachel. You were just at the right time appointment for the incredible work that was needed to be done. So that's it in terms of official appointments and resignations to the Board of Managing Trustees. But let me just share a little bit about some of the work that they've been doing in terms of policies. The Managing Trustees have been working hard over lockdown, finalising some church policies. And they've been based on some information that's been provided by the Assemblies of God operational team. So we've now finalised these policies amongst others: the membership policy, data protection, safeguarding, complaints, conflict of interests, and also when dogs are permitted in the building. And there's many, many more that we're working on that are very nearing completion. I just want to share something that we were part of in 2020. Throughout 2020, I attended 10 once a month online good governance sessions that were offered by the Assemblies of God operations team. And the recordings of each session, along with the slides and the handouts and templates, were made available to managing trustees after each of the sessions. And we felt it was really important to sign up to this because they provided us with some great teaching and advice and guidance in these areas. Good administration, how to hold good meetings, the role of a managing trustee, risk management and data protection, safeguarding, the role of a treasurer and finance, health and safety, HR, which stands for human resources. And the final session was really beneficial to us. I was able to ask 6 or 7 key legal questions that were really helpful for us in governing the church as managing trustees. And those sessions were led by key people such as David Pearson, who's the operations director for the Assemblies of God and our legal advisor. Stuart Keir, the National Leadership Team General Manager. Geldard's solicitors, Kingdom Bank, the organisation known as 318, which are responsible for safeguarding in churches. And there were many other top legal experts invited to teach and give guidance and instruction at those sessions. So they were incredible in terms of strengthening our leadership and governance in the church. The other things I want to share is that you may or may not know that the managing trustees each hold a portfolio. That is an area of work that they take responsibility for. Although we work as one, and ultimately there is one team responsibility for each of these areas. But each managing trustee has their own area of responsibility to progress. One thing we have done in 2020, at the beginning of 2020, was we managed to get online banking in place for the church, which proved incredibly useful during a period of lockdown when banks were closed and it wasn't easy to access in other ways. Before the pandemic in January 2020, we carried out some food safety refresher training, asking our staff to refresh themselves of policies and procedures relating to food safety. But let me tell you a little bit about leadership and governance and our leadership and governance structure. We've been working hard over the last few months to review our leadership and governance structure based on the things that we've learned through the Assemblies of God, the things that we've learned through these good governance sessions, and in conjunction with our area leaders, our zone leaders, and taking in wisdom as to how other churches lead and govern their congregations. And we're very close to finalising a structure that will serve us well for the outworking of our vision. If you go back to our vision document, you will see that we want to build a firm foundation, some strong footings for leadership and governance that serves us well for the outworking of vision. And in that, we've recognised the difference between leadership and governance, the difference between the spiritual and the legal. And also the need from time to time to take in wise counsel. And we hope to be in a position to share with you in the near future a leadership and governance structure that will serve us well as we plan to rebuild our foundations on a sure and firm footing. And when we do, that should bring clarity to the roles of leaders and to the roles and responsibilities of managing trustees, and the people that we seek wisdom or discernment or advice from, whether it be spiritual or legal, in times where that becomes necessary. Let me share with you something about future appointments and other governance matters. First of all, in order to extend our team of managing trustees, the governance side, the legal side, we need to assess suitability. And that includes things like capability. Can someone do the job that needs to be done? The capacity. Does this person have the time to commit to the role and responsibilities of being a managing trustee? A commitment to two things. A commitment to the role and the church, but also a commitment to staying legal. It's a legal position of responsibility, so we need to be sure that they are committed to keeping us on a legal footing. And fourthly, the character. Does the person fit well with the nature of the team that they will become part of? And I want to announce to you today that we've had conversations with Glenn Shearcliffe about becoming a managing trustee. It's not been completely finalised as such, but Glenn has a long history of working in business, a great experience in a professional background. Glenn has a great heart for the church, and he wants to find his calling and discover his purpose, and he believes that this is where the Lord is calling him at this time. And Glenn is of a great character, if you know Glenn, and he would fit in well with the team. So I want to share with you that conversations are ongoing, but we are looking to bring this to a conclusion in the next couple of weeks or so, where we can confirm an official appointment, all being well. In terms of leadership, that's the spiritual leadership of the church. There's been a real need to strengthen the spiritual leadership of the church, going right the way back to when Joe Sherwin took up the position of senior leader at Rushden Full Gospel Church in Northamptonshire. And it was further heightened when Jane Hill needed to take a step back from the responsibility of being a core leader for personal reasons. The need to strengthen has long been recognised, and during lockdown I've been working with the managing trustees to finalise a leadership and governance structure that gives us a firm foundation for the future, our spiritual leadership in line with our vision document. The spiritual leadership team needs to carry the Ephesians 4:11 gifts that you will have heard me talk about so many times. The gift of the apostle, prophet, evangelist, pastor and teacher. And it's really important that the leadership team carries those gifts. But it's more than just carrying the spiritual gift, although that is absolutely essential to the role. In addition to there being evidence of the spiritual gift, again, we need to look at capacity. Does this person have the time to commit to the full responsibility, the weight of responsibility of spiritual leadership in the church? Are they committed? Are they committed to the church? But also, are they committed to staying biblical and committed to our affiliations, with our affiliations and partnerships? And again, do they have the character to fit well into the team? And so today I want to just inform you that again, we're in conversations. Nothing's formally agreed as yet, but we're in conversations with Mark Tennyson, Barry Hartley, and Tembi Nweni to firstly recognise the gifts that they carry and to establish whether they are the ones that God is leading us to appoint to strengthen our leadership team carrying the Ephesians 4:11 gifts. Please note that the spiritual leaders will not be focusing on the governance side of church. That's the legal compass. That's the side that the managing trustees take ownership of. But the leadership team are responsible for the spiritual compass of the church, the spiritual leadership of the church. And I'm confident that in the next few weeks we will be able to establish if these are the called and right people to form part of that team, and that we will be able to strengthen our leadership team for the future. So as we draw to a close on our legal matters, let me summarise by saying these things. Number one, going back to the start of this presentation, the church has been remarkably blessed by your continued financial giving in the support of the church, the work of the church over lockdown. We do have to remain good stewards of God's house, and it's really important we do that, and the financial support that you give is so important as we continue to face financial challenges. They're still here and they haven't gone away. 2020 was a year of holding together as in unity, to stay strong as a church, while reaching out as best we could in the challenging situations that lockdown brings. And I want to thank God for the way that people have been looking out for each other, encouraging each other, and trying to minister to our community in the best ways that we can in these times of great need and challenge. We believe in our vision, and we're starting to build firm foundations for the future in terms of leadership and governance. And we'll contact you again soon as we're able to hold an in-person AGM, as soon as it's legal, safe, and practical and responsible thing to do, then we will inform you of the date and time of our formal annual general meeting. So thanks for listening today. I hope it's been informative. I hope the information has been helpful. And although it's good to look back and reflect, I want to encourage you to look forward. Look forward. There is hope. There is always hope. Hope has a name, Jesus. And hope is coming. Hope is rising. The Lord bless you. Thanks for listening.